The College Planning Edge. Multiply your odds of getting into your dream college and get your hands on thousands of dollars of fat, juicy scholarships. Brought to you by Lockwood College Prep, helping college-bound families get the edge in college admissions, financial aid, scholarships, and test prep.
Okay, we're here at College Talk Tuesday. Pearl and Andy Lockwood from Lockwood College Prep. Hello, viewers. Hello, Pearl.
Hello, Andy. Hello, viewers.
Hello, dog hair on your shirt.
Yes.
Were you wrestling with our dog?
Yes. As per usual, I have two dogs that I'm very fond of.
And?
And
is that appropriate for College Talk Tuesday?
Nope. You brought it up, though, didn't you? Mr. Appropriate?
Distracting. Anyway, so I want to talk today about some new info that I learned last week at a college planning conference, the NECAG conference, National Collegiate Advocacy Group, National College Advocacy Group, NECAG.
NECAG.
Yeah. Some of which I've shared with you, but not everything.
So
brace yourself.
Whoa.
All right. So I learned some stuff about, actually it was a great conference. There were probably about 35, 40 college planners from anywhere from Seattle to Maine, actually Portland, Maine. And it was in Charleston, South Carolina, so I got a chance to meet and listen to presentations from the head of admissions at Clemson, University of South Carolina, USC. To some people.
New USC.
Not classic USC, not Southern Cal. And College of Charleston, which I was actually very impressed with. A lot of kids around here don't apply to that school. I'm going to start recommending it. Pretty easy to get into. They give a lot of money. And Charleston's such a great city. It's really one of the, I guess we've driven through there together. Yeah. It's really one of the nicest cities that I've been to. It's very interesting, a lot of history, very interesting school. So anyway, I'm going to share some of the information I learned from them, particularly about merit scholarships. And I also want to share some common sort of issues and complaints that people all over the country, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, you name it, have sort of about what we share in common, which I want to pass on to parents. And just some information about the SAT and the subject tests, which I thought was interesting too. Okay. Oh, and the coalition application, which didn't exist until 3 years ago. And it just so happens that the Clemson guy was the main guy behind creating or creating that project, the coalition application project. So, if you are joining us, either live or on replay, say hi. I don't have my laptop with me, so you're going to have to... Hey, your volume's on. So you're going to have to, I guess, you'll be the one giving the shout-outs today?
Yes.
Anyone with us?
Not that I can see.
People watching,
yes.
So if you're watching, say hi. And a lot of people watching replay. If you have any questions, pop them in comments. I will retrieve my laptop at some point and start responding to those comments or questions. And we're doing, if you're local, we are doing a soft kind of rollout of our college boot camps this summer, applications and essay boot camps, which you can read about on collegebootcamps.com. The July one is not listed anymore because that was sold out, but we have one coming up the middle of August, and then I think we're probably going to do another one either end of August or beginning of September. I haven't decided, and so forth. So we got a lot going on here. Oh, also we're doing our first actual live presentation here in this office tomorrow night.
Cool.
Are you coming to help?
You're putting me on the spot. Probably.
Well, what? Do you don't want to get stuck in traffic?
No, but we have children, so let me just make sure.
Whatever. They're not babies, okay?
No, they're not.
So it'd be nice just to come and say hi.
Agreed.
But I'm trying to figure out which way to configure the room. Should it be the chairs that way, or should it be that way, perhaps?
Yeah, I'm sure this is what everyone's wondering about.
It's college planning and feng shui. That's on tap for today. Okay. So let me talk a little bit about the merit scholarship stuff. So I had actually had this question for a long time. I found it kind of irritating that whenever you look on a college website about their merit scholarship information, you never see information like, to qualify, you need to have A, B, C, and D. Instead, what you see is recipients of the Chancellor's Award tended to have GPAs of blah, 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 or higher, and in the top blank percent of your class, and tended to have scores in the yada, blah, 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 blah. So I always found that I just assumed they did that because they want to give themselves some wiggle room. Every year we try to appeal financial aid awards and scholarship awards, and frequently, a lot of times when we appeal scholarship awards, the only time we're really successful is when we have offers from other colleges to play off against each other. But the times when I try to say, hey, it looks like we meet your criteria, can you take another look? Frequently the answer is, well, those are just loose guidelines and we gave out all the money at this point, so I'm sorry, that type of thing. Okay, so I think this was all on the record, so I'm okay saying this, but the South Carolina rep said words to the effect of, the reason that we don't publish specific GPA and SAT and ACT score requirements for merit scholarships is because if we did, we would get an influx of applications of everyone meeting those criteria, and then we'd be on the hook for giving out all that money. So we have to keep it loosey-goosey. And that's like so obvious, I never even thought about that for years. So
it's discretionary.
Right. I mean, so these tendencies generally are accurately depicted.
Right.
Thank you. And she does this all the time. It's funny. She does this. You stopped. Okay. So that's so funny. Her mom did that too. So anyway, it was endearing, just as it is now, just as it was then. So anyway. That's the reason why, and I do think that for the most part, it's in the college's best interests to keep it loosey-goosey, not only because of the what I just described, but also I think they are basically accurate because they want to attract kids with high grades and high scores, which helps their rankings in the U.S. News and World Report, which they also, every college confirms that they look at like it's the Bible, and they want to attract higher quality people in general. So that, I think, was pretty interesting.
Right, and that ties back to the reality of this. There is a choice out there for you, believe it or not, to pay full price, pay retail, if you will, a $65,000 price tag, or if you end up being such an applicant who receives a hunk of merit at a school that might be considered lesser in some way because your statistics meet in such a way that you get awarded so much money. If you go to that school, you're presumably paying half price. That's an amazing thing to consider, especially if you have plans for graduate school, etc.
The average discount off of tuition is still 49.1%. It's been increasing by a couple of basis points every year. Last year, I think it was 48.6, so about half a point up. So that's another reason colleges are aggressively still discounting. Maybe not so much the elite schools, but the ones that are a notch or two, easier to get into. Those are the ones where we're seeing a lot of deal making, a lot of negotiation. Okay, if you're just joining us, it's College Talk Tuesday. Pearl and I talk about stuff that has that relates to getting into college, paying for college, SAT and ACT prep. Sometimes career and majors. Wiring.
Yeah.
Yep. I saw a presentation on that also at this conference that I attended last week in Charleston, South Carolina. So now I want to talk a little bit about a common problem that you and I have talked about a lot. You're going to like this one.
Oh, exciting.
Right in your wheelhouse.
Let's hear it.
That I heard from, literally, we were going around the room, and again, coast to coast and Midwest people all had the same issue, which is that too many times parents are letting the kids make the decisions and drive the bus in terms of financial decisions, and the kids were causing, or the parents were letting, it's really the parents who are doing this, letting themselves get into serious financial stress because I can't tell you how many times I heard this. If you get into 7 colleges, and he gets scholarship or financial aid awards from 6 of them. Invariably, the kid picks the 7th one.
Right, the one they claw their way in.
I heard that seriously.
Yeah.
You've been laughing because I heard that from a guy in Ohio, heard that from a woman in Oregon, heard that from a guy in Portland, Maine. So it's the same thing over and over again. And the gist, and it wasn't really like, hey, we have to do something about this. The gist of the comment was, can you believe that parents do this? It's ridiculous that they let their kids take charge of the process.
Right, and what the other problem is, it's either taking charge of the process or they are not controlling as parents when to have these conversations and what these conversations should look like.
When should they have the conversation?
Well, they should have it way before you're ever going to set foot on a college campus, way before you even choose what college campuses you're going to go visit.
How about before you apply?
That too, of course. Yeah. Before you apply, before you anything.
Listen, part of that reason is you don't know exactly what college is going to cost. It's very weird because you wouldn't buy a house this way. You wouldn't say, "Wow, I really love that house. Let me know what it costs in 6 months."
Exactly.
But we can, and Pearl can. She has tools to be able to predict with reasonable certainty what colleges are likely to give. There is also one of the tools, by the way, which I didn't mention, is the net price calculator, and I actually met the guy who created the net price calculator, which was kind of dorky. But anyway, back to the conversation, then I'll talk to you about that.
Oh, so
letting the kids drive the bus, when to have the conversation, and what should the conversation be?
And the conversation should be, if money is no object and that's not your problem, even if that is your situation, if you do not have to overpay for something, you may not want to. A lot of people don't like to overpay for something. But
it's a question of what's the value and what's the return on investment.
Exactly.
That's the biggest question.
And what you're looking to study. Like, for example, if your student is looking to go to medical school, there are 2 things going on there. One, you have the cost of undergraduate school, and you have the cost, which is at least as much as whatever the undergraduate education is going to be. So if finances are an issue and or how much you want to be burdened with loans, ultimately,
finances.
What costs you can control, that undergraduate, can swing from, if you go to a SUNY school, if you're in New York State, for about $26,000 all in, as high as if you're an out-of-state or going to USC, the one in California, for example, is about $84,000. Look at the difference, and that's just a difference in choice. How much, you're going to be in hock for that education or how much you're willing to pay. And if at the end of the day, you are that medical school applicant who needs to have a 3.75 GPA or better if you plan to get accepted into a medical school in the United States, right, then that is the other piece that you have to consider when making these choices. So there's a lot to it besides just where your kid wants to go. And if finances are an issue, you better get in the driver's seat and stay there and talk about these these financial birds and bees, if you will, sooner rather than later, so that you've had that conversation before you make your list and then start to develop a personal relationship with these various schools, and the love only grows from there. So if those are out of the cards, it's like if you're going house shopping and you're in the $700,000 range, but you are being taken around to see homes that are $1.5 million and up.
Realtors don't do that.
That's going to be problematic for you, but if you do that. So you need to control expectations. It's no different with your child. You figure out what the financial realities are at the outset before you then introduce your child to the whole concept and decide where they're going to go. Not that different than when they were 3 or 4.
Hopefully it wasn't the same old, but for a lot of parents it is. The gist of the comments that I heard at this conference. And by the way, if you're just joining us, I see a bunch of people coming on now. Pearl and I are talking about some sort of lessons or new bits of information that I learned last week at a college planning conference that I attended, and one of them was about merit scholarships and why colleges don't publish specifically what the requirements are in this what Pearl's talking about right now. So I'll go back and listen to that if you missed that. That's important. If Pearl is what Pearl's talking about right now is this sort of common complaint that I kept hearing over and over again about college planning professionals like us who really want to see our clients be as successful as they possibly can be, not only in terms of getting into college, but also in terms of affording college. How many parents let their kids drive the process and put themselves in financial peril because of this. Not
right.
peril, and the biggest problem is just kind of it's almost like an abdication of responsibility for your kids. And the question you said, you made this point obliquely, but the point I always look at is what is the value if you get into your state school, like Pearl said, whatever state you're in, maybe it's $25,000-$30,000, or you want to go to an out-of-state school or an out-of-state private school. Like around here, a lot of times a kid will get into like Michigan or Maryland, and that's $50,000-$60,000 a year,
right.
versus a SUNY school, state of New York, public college which could be literally half price. So the question to me is always, whether you have the money, that's one thing or not, but is it really worth paying twice as much to send your kid to one of those schools because they have a great football or a great basketball team, or it's a big, spirited type of place, as opposed to a different type of experience when you go to college? I personally have a very hard time on justifying that, but it's all over the board in terms of how parents react.
Right, and some we've had clients, and it's about choices. It's about choices, and we've seen some clients choose, when they don't have the money, to pay that premium on the undergraduate education when they have a real affordability issue. And
we have a client who sold
their house, right, in order to pay for college, essentially.
Not an Ivy League school,
no.
And their kid was not an A+ student.
Right. So,
or decided on a particular major.
And then, unfortunately, so everything is financed also to boot, and those are debts that are very challenging to climb out of. And the other thing I was going to say to round out what you were saying is, and the other piece that you have to consider at the outset is the likely return on that investment. It's not different than buying a house or making a business investment. You're taking money, hard-earned money, and you're putting it towards something, and you want to at least be made whole from that investment. Doing
something else.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if the likelihood of taking $65,000 a year, as opposed to a different lower price, if the value is that much greater at some of these other schools, then of course, then you've evaluated and you've done your homework. If it isn't, then you may not, maybe a sucker's bet.
Yeah, it's a bad bet no matter what, because it's very hard to justify the outcome being twice as good if you go to school A versus school B, even if that's Harvard versus a community college. I'm sorry, there's no proof.
It's like one of the only investments, big ticket investments in life, that people throw that due diligence aside. And all rational thinking in that particular investment goes out the window.
I think they're treating it as a cost or expense, not an investment, basically.
That's a problem.
Yeah, and we look at it like an investment. So that's just like an overall sort of, can you believe we're going through the same, also type of conversation that I really had for 2 days. I mean, it was interesting, and then it was very frustrating, and we all kind of left there vowing to do a better job at trying to help parents get that message out. And again, it's not just about affordability. I mean, we have plenty of clients who could pay for college many times over for each of their kids, but it's about the value. Is it really gonna is it really worth it?
But if the kid, right?
Got it.
All right, so we've driven this home.
Okay. Well, it's always next week. All right, so let me wrap up here with a little more information on our other stuff that I learned. So I sat through. It was really boring, I have to admit, but I sat through this presentation. This is when I was texting you, I think.
Back of the classroom or front of the classroom?
I was stuck in the front.
That's
the
rough
first
for
time
you.
because I got there late. I
Were you whispering loudly?
I was texting you actually, and when I said already bored,
Yeah.
our
Remember that was about 15 minutes into the first speaker.
Yeah, well, I know I missed. Apparently, I missed the really boring one.
Oh.
I was told that,
Thank God.
and then by someone who Julie, our career counselor, and then I sat down and I started listening to this other presentation, which was from a Wells Fargo economist, someone who's like a talking head on TV, and I was like, this is the not boring one.
Right.
Are you sure? But I thought it was interesting. She went through a lot of data and charts and all that, which stuff I kind of knew. College is expensive. Hello. What I thought was interesting though is when she compared the college debt level, which is now 1.4 trillion with a T, versus the mortgage crisis debt levels and a percentage of debt and household discretionary income, as well as the factoring in the new income-based debt repayment plans, she made an argument that the student debt crisis is really not likely to happen anytime soon. People talk about student loan bubble bursting and all that. Her opinion was that compared to the mortgage debt levels and the percentage of household income and all that, it really wasn't going to be anywhere close to that. Plus, when people couldn't make their mortgage payments, they lost their homes.
Right.
If you can't make your loan payments, you're not losing your brain.
No,
so
hopefully not.
So
Right.
So I found that I guess a little slightly less alarming, but it was still.
But it catches
interesting.
up with you, and it has other ramifications in life. It's not a road you want to go down in the first place. Is
Yes,
really
Pearl, I'm
the-
just telling you
I
what the Wells Fargo person said.
Okay.
We're not advocating that.
Okay.
Jeez. All right. Another interesting presentation that I sat through was about this coalition application, which is now 3 years old, and the nuts and bolts of it is there's a common application that many colleges take, and I guess the gist of why I'm still not totally clear on why a bunch of other schools decided to create a new application.
To simplify
Universally
things.
shared, but they're creating a new.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, but it is a simpler application, and it's kind of neat. It allows you to upload stuff, to a locker, and then you can decide whether or not to include that multimedia things that the Common App doesn't have. So it is more innovative. Bottom line, it has resulted in more and more applications going into college, which is why the full name is the Coalition for Access application. So there's more people applying because of the coalition application. And there's a few schools
And
that
is there
now
a fee associated with that?
it is, but it's lower or it gets waived. And there's a few lower than the Common App.
So it's just another opportunity to make money, though, nonetheless.
Well, it's a way to get more applications, not to necessarily make more money on the application fees. For example, University of Florida only accepts the coalition application now, so they're making less money on their applications. So I thought it was very interesting. But the bottom line here for anyone watching this is, I think there's going to be more and more applications continuing to go in, which is going to make admissions rates even lower than they were last year. So you better get a jump on all that stuff and figuring out not only, some schools take both, the coalition and the Common, figuring out which is more advantageous. Sometimes the essay requirements are different, like it's 650 max for the Common App, and the schools that take the Common App and the coalition, you would think, would have the same word limits for both, but by and large they do. But there's a few schools that have 650 for one and 500 for the other one. It's kind of,
And you opt to take, those
choose
who
which
want
one.
both, you choose which one,
Yeah.
like the ACT, SAT, basically.
Yeah, just for a few schools. So anyway, bottom line, more applications are coming in this year as well. There's a link at the top of this page if you're local for our college boot camps, which are coming up in August. Definitely one of them is going to be in August, a three-day affair where I just haul a bunch of kids in here. We can't really hold more than 15.
GetItDone.com now. That'd be good,
He's
right?
your problem now. He's our problem now.
Exactly.
Hashtag he's our problem now.
Right.
So that was interesting in terms of the coalition stuff. And I heard a little bit also about a lot of kids who are striving to go to Ivy League or competitive colleges. Also, in addition to doing the applications and the regular SAT and the regular ACT, there's also an opportunity to submit more testing called the SAT subject test. It used to be the SAT 2, or maybe I had it the other way around. There's only about 28 colleges that want the SAT 2. And by and large, the big three areas, or the big three tests that are represented in terms of kids taking them, is biochem, and I think math 1. It might be math 2, but it's the whole one of the maths. And there's a whole lot of other stuff. There's history, which is in there. There's so many different possibilities. You can take Mandarin, and SAT 2 in Mandarin are subject tests. You can take one in Hebrew.
Wow.
So they were like, I don't know, 20 to 50,000 or something who took chemistry and bio and all those. 400 took Hebrew in the whole country.
Oh.
Yeah, so I think there'd be more. When you think like the yeshiva schools and the Solomon Schechter's and whatever, wouldn't you think there'd be more people who took Hebrew?
Maybe. Depends if the schools that they typically apply to require it.
Well, you should do, if you're applying to a really competitive school and you think you can get in the mid 700s on an SAT subject test, you should do it. Because most of the IBs and some other schools like Georgetown require at least 2 or 3 of those. And a lot of times kids find out and parents find out too late that they're short one of those tests, or they have a too low a score in one of those tests. Well, it's a hard fix if you let it go too late, but it's easy if you're watching us and paying attention. You want to make sure that you get all that testing stuff done. See if there's any questions before we wrap up.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
A lot of times kids take them, or the guidance counselors kind of talk them out of taking them, but there really are 25, 30 colleges, I think it's literally 28 colleges that strongly recommend the SAT subject test, which means require in most cases. But unfortunately, if you're going to get in the high 6s, it's not going to help you. You need to be in the low mid 7s minimum to get a benefit from taking the subject test and the SAT. All right. That is all I had. If you guys,
I'll give just the quick shout outs to hi to Barb from Maine.
Hello, Barbara.
Hi, Teresa. And hi, Louisa. Thank you about the package. You gotta. It is a money choice. No, it should just Louisa was commenting. You guys are spot on about the best package. Yeah, no need to waste your money.
Good. Are we blurry, or is that me? That's my eyesight. Okay. All right. So, anything, any questions at all, either post them right here on this page if you're watching in replay. If you would prefer, do a direct message to me. If you don't want the whole world, Mark Zuckerberg and Cambridge Analytica to see everything. And thanks for watching.
Yes,
and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi, this is Andy Lockwood. Don't forget to visit our website, lockwoodcollegeprep.com, for some more free, valuable information on how you can multiply your chances of admission to your dream colleges and qualify for thousands or tens of thousands of dollars of fat, juicy scholarships along the way. Visit lockwoodcollegeprep.com for information on our free upcoming workshops and webinars, and to download a copy of our #1 best-selling book, How to Pay Wholesale for College. That's lockwoodcollegeprep.com. Bye-bye.